facilities, and limited support furnishings such as service trolleys and refuse management movement along the sidewalk. At the same time, the ordinance establishes operational limitations intended to minimize impacts on surrounding businesses in the public realm. For example, outdoor cooking within the public right-of-way is prohibited, along with amplified sound and electronic signage or television screens that are visible from the public right-of-way. Together, these standards are intended to support a vibrant outdoor dining opportunities while maintaining accessibility, pedestrian safety, visual quality, and compatibility with the commercial corridor. This slide highlights several of the key operational public safety standards applicable to pocket patios specifically. Because pocket patios occupy active street parking areas along the public street, the ordinance includes additional requirements related to roadway safety, visibility of traffic, and infrastructure protection. These standards are intended to ensure that pocket patios remain compatible with surrounding circulation, transit operations, adjacent businesses, and the safe use of the parking areas. These would include an additional building permit would be required. Pocket patios are limited to roadways under 30 miles per hour, a limit of the use of 3 spaces per dining facility that are adjacent to the business's storefront. And additionally, we are proposing 3 per block, 3 actual facilities per block. However, the commission has the authority to recommend to staff a different number if desired. The ordinance also establishes authority for permit fees, renewal fees, public right-of-way, occupancy fees, parking revenue recovery fees associated with the outdoor dining facilities. The proposed fee structure has developed following review of comparable California outdoor dining and encroachment programs and is intended to accomplish 2 primary objectives: recover the city's reasonable administrative and operational costs associated with permitting, inspections, monitoring, and enforcement, and provide fair compensation for the temporary private commercial use and occupation of the public right-of-way areas. The proposed fee includes sidewalk cafes having an initial permit of $1,250, pocket patios having an initial permit fee of $3,500, and then lesser fees, as you see reflected here, for renewal of the fee. In addition, the ordinance establishes a public right-of-way occupancy fee of $1 per square foot per month for sidewalk cafes and public and parking patios. The outdoor dining facilities occupying metered or revenue-generated parking spaces would have the applicable parking revenue recovery fee applied to offset the projected parking revenue losses. Accordingly, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend City Council of the City of Chula Vista adopt an ordinance amending the Chula Vista Municipal Code, Title 19, to add Chapter 19.59 Outdoor Dining Regulations, and recommend the City Council adopt a resolution to establish fees associated with outdoor dining facilities within the public right-of-way. And that concludes our presentation, and we're available for questions.
Thank you, Rebecca. At this time, we're going to be moving to commissioner questions. I'd like to emphasize to the commissioners that we are only at questions at this time, and hold any comments or opinions until after the public hearing. I do have a few questions. In regards to the parking revenue recovery, do we know what the average or medium spot on 3rd Avenue is generating per year, what that cost would be, or some sort of range?
I don't have a range for you, but the fees are relatively low, and those are established by the finance department, so we could get that additional information for you.
Thank you. And then in the renewal, I want to make sure I have the dates correct. 19.59.050, each encroachment permit shall expire 2 years after the date of initial approval, but there's an annual renewal fee. So how,
It is a biannual process.
Impact, our traffic and engineering team looked at the number of spaces that would be impacted and given existing utilization rates and the number that are being allowed per block. The impact at this point in time would be de minimis, but we would continue to analyze parking on an ongoing basis to see if changes are going to be necessary.
thank you. And then kind of piggyback on that question. So the staff report states temporary outdoor dining programs implemented during and following COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated the value of outdoor activation in supporting local businesses, encouraging pedestrian activity, and enhancing pedestrian-oriented commercial districts. What metrics were used to determine this in that supporting local businesses? And did the metrics assess any negative impacts on the loss of parking?
So this was before my time, but primarily it was through engagement with the business owners and their individual responses related to increases in revenue. I'm not aware of any specific study that was done at that point in time, but when the city chose to eliminate the temporary program, those who had been using it conveyed to the city at the time that there was both a loss of revenue and that it was making a significant impact when they had both seen during COVID time a significant increase. Now, we have to recognize that in and around what was occurring related to COVID, there were more restrictions related to space, et cetera. So what we can say is that from a business owner perspective and for those who are looking to how to enhance their revenues in those areas, this is an asset. And if you just take from a basic square footage percentage and then the ability to have outdoor dining, which some would not be able to, for example, a patio or something along those lines. This would give them the opportunity to continue to do that, which would generate additional revenue and additional amenity for them.
And in regards to the outreach that the Economic Development Department did, the staff report stated that there were 190 participants. Do we know out of those 190 participants what the breakdown was in relation to property owners, businesses, and citizens?
So that particular survey was just one step in the part of our reach out to businesses. The majority of that outreach was related to people who would be utilizing, not the business owners themselves, but through the Chamber, the South County EDC, Direct 101 Business Directory, email and contacting our roughly 6,000 contacts in the business community related to these regulations. That's how we directly related to both the business owners and actually also the landowners, as many of these tenants do not actually own the property itself. So that's how we've been able to reach out to at least 200 to 300, if not more, property owners and business owners with a real focus on those that are in downtown Chula Vista along 3rd Avenue, as that's the only place that there have ever been the Paco patios and the most active related to sidewalk cafes.
Thank you. And my last question, kind of going off of what you just said, is 3rd Avenue the only area that this would apply in, or do other areas like maybe Millennia and would apply to it? And then if so, do their specific plans go over this, or is this still apply to them?
Thank you very much. So this ordinance was intended in the drafting of it to be a citywide ordinance, recognizing where the primary areas of impact have been and where they've been used in the past, which is along 3rd Avenue. But this is something that would be applicable across all of our city, and as we begin to engage in those other areas, there might be some tweaks or changes that are necessary, but it's intended to be a citywide ordinance.
Thank you. Commissioner Combs?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have quite a few questions, so please bear with me. First of all, what insurance are required for pocket patios?
So the city has a standard insurance and indemnification, and that would be the same for both the pocket patios and the sidewalk cafes. So I believe that standard is
I could answer that question.
certainly, go right ahead. It's $2 million.
They would have to have a business liability policy.
For how much?
Oh, I don't know if there's a.
Our standard right now is $2 million
$2 million,
per claim.
not a big deal.
Okay, so it's a $2 million insurance policy. So supposing somebody hits the pocket patio at some point, how much would it cost for the city of San Diego, or San Diego, I apologize, the city of Chula Vista, how much would it cost for them to defend?
The city would not be, we would be held harmless. That would be the indemnification.
So an indemnification's part of it, so the indemnification.
Insurance and indemnification are a portion of that. It would
Okay, I won't be
the
asking.
responsibility of the business
I'm sorry.
owner.
Okay, so I won't be asking you to recite the entire code as it applies here, but if you could please go over the safety involved with the pocket patio. What am I required to do should I, say, put a pocket patio in front of my business? Hypothetically, of course.
Certainly. When a business comes in with a permit, because it's a ministerial permit, they would have to meet the conditions of the ordinance and then any referenced chapters in the code. But we would be looking for traffic visibility and safety, crosswalk safety, so that people coming out of a crosswalk or out of a pocket patio would not be in reference to or interact with traffic at all. They would have to meet the building code and have the appropriate barriers between you and active traffic, as well as setbacks.
Okay, what are appropriate barriers?
So typically with the building code, and I appreciate the question, it's a 42-inch high barrier that you can't fall through or a child can't slip through. So that would need to be some sort of a solid or narrow slat.
Can a car drive through it?
I believe that a car could at some point drive through it, yes, or run into it, but there would be some sort of structural there.
So there is some structural, but I'm considering a 2,000-pound car or something like that. So anyway, so is there railing required on this?
Yes,
How tall is the railing?
that would be the 42 inches from the platform.
I'm talking about the railing on the platform itself. Is there railing on the platform
So,
itself?
On the floor of the platform, so where you would walk, that would be flush with the curb, would be a 42 inches above that.
So 42 now, so underneath the railing, is there? I assume there's a vertical slats, correct?
Underneath the railing would probably be
I
a
guess-
6-inch gap.
A 6-inch.
6 to 8-inch gap there that would need to have some sort of, has to have water be able to go through it and be able to clean out from underneath it.
Perhaps I guess what I'm saying, maybe I should go ahead and verify what I'm saying, but so I'm supposing a child sitting on this patio could decide to climb underneath the railing around or jump over or something like that and say run into traffic. Is that a possibility?
Commissioner, if I may, because the questions that you're asking are ones that we dug into in looking at other ordinances, other places where these are existing and safety concerns, exactly like you've said with our business owners. And both what is in the ordinance and also what has been laid out through the review that will occur have taken into account the best practices related to engineering, particularly related to safety, recognizing that there's interactions for the pocket patios with cars, making sure that the space between where the actual spaces and where you can construct, that there's setbacks related to that. In addition, that there are the exact same sorts of things so that, for example, my little kids can't slip through the slats to have something like that happen. And so each of these safety mechanisms, for example, the 42 that the deputy director was talking about, are supposed to be impenetrable, right? Are not supposed to be able to allow people to easily access the street or other locations that are safe. And in looking at just to the north of here and other locations that have put these in long-term and have been in place over several years, we looked at the safety record related to those. We had the consultant do that as well in developing the recommendations here. So I appreciate that very, very critical part of this because nobody wants anything unsafe to happen either to and into the pocket patio, for example, vehicles, or external with people being able to, especially young children, exit that in an unsafe manner.
Okay. All right, make sure I have everything here. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioner, Vice Chair Torres?
Well, I was going to address Commissioner's questions about liability, but we have counsel here, but if counsel would indulge me, is that as stated by staff, is that, they have to sign a release and the city is indemnified if the business owner was negligent and somehow caused an accident, the business themselves would be sued. It would be their policy. That's why they have to take out a business liability policy of $2 million. And so that person would then sue the insurance carrier who issued that policy, okay? And so the city would not be involved in that kind of litigation. Now, if a child ran through, somehow got out of the corridor of that pocket patio or the sidewalk cafe, and it wasn't properly constructed per code, then the city and the business could be sued, okay? If that child got run over, okay? That's why you have inspectors who would diligently go about and make sure that that didn't happen, okay? So just to answer that question, but let me ask my question, if I may. If we can go back to where the subcommittee direction page was, and that is this, is that there was one little proviso there that I just want to expound upon, if I may, in my question. There it is. It says, regulate pocket patio concentration along blocks. And my question is this: will staff implement a regulatory framework to ensure uniformity in the issuance of permits for sidewalk cafes and pocket patios in certain business corridors within the city? And what I'm getting at is that, say, 3rd Avenue, okay, in the village, only pocket patios will be allowed in there? Or are you going to allow a hodgepodge approach? Excuse me, I had a concussion, so I'm a little dingy still. Or are you going to allow a hodgepodge approach where you can go pocket patio one block, sidewalk cafes in the next block, or even within the same block, one and or the other?
Thank you. And speaking directly to the direction that came both from the subcommittee members and also from our engagement with the business owners, sidewalk cafes and pocket patios are actually complementary, and that's what we see in many areas, so you would have both. They're also complementary for the same business. So if there's enough sidewalk space, you could have, as you have probably seen in other parts of downtown areas, a row of tables directly in front of the business that are a part of the sidewalk cafes, and then, for example, 2 or 3 parking spaces with an elevated platform railing around it that is the pocket patio as well. And so currently, the sidewalk cafes are allowed through a director's decision that was issued several years ago. And so that's why you see them with chairs, et cetera, that are out there. We are creating a more formalized process related to that, and also things like barriers, et cetera. But you will have, directly to your point, the ability to have both sidewalk cafes and pocket patios, of which both occupy 2 different types of spaces, so long as the basic things like egress and ingress, et cetera, is still met.
Okay, let's explore that a little bit. I'm going to be the devil's advocate. If you allow the same business to have a pocket patio and a sidewalk cafe, how are you going to be able to ensure not just ingress, egress, but ADA compliance, ensuring that there is proper flow for people to walk on the sidewalk and not have to then jeopardize themselves by going around it into the street or imperiling themselves and or their children, or interfere with the conduct of the business itself?
Those are required by the state building code, and also a part of the regulations that we are addressing here. And should you compromise either of those 2, you would not get to get one or either of those permits.
Okay,
So
but that's
one
not,
affects
if
the
I
other.
may be more of the devil's advocate, but that's after issuance of the permits. That's why I'm asking about, is staff going to implement a regulatory framework that would preempt these types of
Yes.
predicaments?
That's exactly what the ordinance is.
I've read the ordinance, thank you. Okay, but I'm asking you the question.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now, as pointed out or asked by the chair, is that there was 190 businesses that responded, I guess, to some survey. and this is citywide, so what neighborhood or business corridor does staff actually anticipate receiving the majority of these types of permits? Where?
At this point, Third Avenue, because that's the place that they've been.
Okay, all right. But does staff foresee any of the restaurant, there's a lot of taco shops on Third Avenue. Does the staff foresee the possibility of many of them having sidewalk cafes?
On Third Avenue?
Yeah, on Third Avenue, there's a lot of them.
Sure. It is open to any business that
Okay.
meets the requirements.
Okay.
What I can tell you is that we know directly from those who previously had permits who are still in business that they are interested. I know there's a representative of the Downtown Chula Vista Association here who may have had additional conversations, and there's several who have not had one before that are also interested, but
Okay.
it's still not significant numbers to this date.
Okay, so basically, the impetus or the general interest of this ordinance really has come about by the businesses in the village, basically.
No, what we actually see kind of across the state of California as these were implemented due to COVID, the ability and vibrancy that's occurred related to that in streetscapes in multiple places. Now, as you know, much of Chula Vista's east side has been master planned and may not have those older neighborhoods that would benefit necessarily from this, although they could. But it's in the older neighborhoods of reinterpreting and reusing the public space that sort of tactical urbanism has pushed forward that is exactly what this addresses. Though it was taken advantage of during COVID by businesses on Third Avenue, by having a set of regulations that are applicable long-term and throughout the entire city, we hope to be able to encourage similar vibrancy in other appropriate areas in the city.
Okay, maybe I didn't make myself clear, and I apologize. I was talking about, in particular, this ordinance in this city is who has expressed the most interest in this matter.
The business owners and those who are potential business owners who have either had them during COVID
Okay.
or have since, but that's why we expanded the outreach to be citywide. So we
Okay.
weren't just hearing from one small set of business owners.
Okay, had another question, but I think it was more or less indirectly answered. Okay, that's it.
Commissioner Sanfilippo?
I just had a real quick question. You mentioned earlier that it would be spaced out. Is it a lottery system? How would the process take?
Thank you, Commissioner. So that is something we are actively looking at and how to address that at this point in time. It appears, depending upon what the regulations are that are proposed, we'll have to make a determination whether there will be enough capacity on anticipated businesses or whether something like that needs to go into place. At this point in time, depending upon how many are limited per block, we'll better be able to assess that. And we don't have an answer for that right now, but any recommendations from the commission would be appreciated.
Could a cabaret license for soft music with a certain amount of decibels be added to this for ambiance? It works well in other areas, particularly the gas lamp area, as well as Little Italy. And I would even go further to say this excludes monitors or televisions of some type. If they weren't pointed toward the traffic to create an optical type of obstruction, could that be another licensing opportunity?
So those are not allowed, as you saw in this current ordinance, but should that be a recommendation of the commission, that could be evaluated. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
We can take that recommendation forward if you would like to do so.
Yeah, I would. Vista has a very good ordinance with cabaret. Me personally, I would probably have to get a consensus, but Vista has an ordinance for cabaret in the sense that light music or live music in any form, and I think the city of San Diego has a similar one too. Yeah, if you don't mind. Anyway, Chair, thanks.
Thank you. I have one last clarifying question. So we referenced and we've referred to business owners that are going to be benefiting and have shown a desire for this. But to be specific, we're talking about food and drink establishment business owners, right? So you're not going to have a salon or a barber shop open up and want to cut hair out there, for example, to be clear, right? Only food and drink establishments.
Yes, we actually explored whether there would be interest amongst the retail and other service-type businesses. There was not interest from those businesses, and gone are the days of the outdoor haircuts. Thank goodness, COVID.
Thank you. I have no more commissioner questions. I will now open the public hearing. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak on the project. Deputy City Clerk, are there any public comments for this item?
Yes, there were two public comments that were submitted electronically in opposition to this item from Robert. And then we have one speaker, Dominic Lemandry, who wishes to speak today.
Thank you. Mr. Lamadri?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dominic Lemandry. I'm the District Manager for the Downtown Chula Vista Association. And I'm here to, first off, thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts on the proposed outdoor dining ordinance. Though this process has taken some time, we've seen other cities around Chula Vista implement sidewalk and parklet dining and drinking. And I want to acknowledge that we are here and have something to discuss after a long effort and campaign from or advocacy from the Downtown Chula Vista business owners and stakeholders. I'd like to first by thanking the city itself for that long journey. We've had multiple staff people that we've worked with, but the ordinance before you today is the realization of that hard work over multiple years. The Economic Development Department worked with a consultant, engaged with stakeholders, and worked in earnest for about a year on these regulations, although it has been more like 3 years since the parklets were last removed, more like 2 years, since I believe August 2024. I also want to thank the Development Services Department for taking up this effort and bringing the ordinance before you today. The ability to activate the streetscape with sidewalk dining, parklets, or what this ordinance calls pocket patios creates vibrant business districts and experiences. On behalf of the business owners who had the opportunity to participate in outdoor dining and those who have the opportunity in the future, I'd like to provide some comments on this ordinance. The goal is to create something that works citywide, while also recognizing the unique needs of business districts like downtown Chula Vista. First, I think we are generally supportive of the regulations for sidewalk cafes. However, the annual fee for those operations are quite high, and I'd like to ask the city to work with us on that. I'm not aware of any encroachment type permit where the city charges what is effectively rent for use of public space. I understand that the need to replace parking meter revenue, but I would ask staff to take another look at both the structure and amount of those charges. Second, when it comes to pocket patios, those are really the main event and the impetus for this ordinance. We appreciate the thoughtfulness and the work that's been gone into these recommendations, and it appears that they were appropriately sized to be useful without severely impacting parking. I would also recommend not limiting the number of parklets per block face. I understand there was some type of survey regarding potential locations. It seems reasonable that 8 to 10 per block could work, but we would like to work directly with staff so there's a clear understanding of whether there will be winners or losers in this process. We don't want to detract business from any business owners on 3rd Avenue. We want this to be a transparent and collective process, and as well as inclusive. There should be flexibility for the department to evaluate how these parklets are appropriate on a given block based on parking demand without requiring city council action every time on a number of changes. I'm just going to conclude because I see I'm running out of time. Thank you for your time, but we would request that the Planning Commission either move this forward to the City Council with comments or, move this forward to the City Council with comments, and without a final recommendation, will staff continue to work with us or continue this hearing so we can collaborate with staff to resolve some of these remaining outstanding issues. Thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions regarding how the parklets originally operated on 3rd Avenue. Thank you.
Deputy City Clerk, do I have any further public comments?
There are no additional comments.
I will now close the public hearing. We are moving on to commissioner comments. Vice Chair Torres.
Well, first to Mr. Lemandry, I just want to let you know, I know your father. I worked with him when I was with the city of Long Beach. He helped us establish our business district there. And a good man does a great job. So I'm glad that you're involved here. Well, overall, I'm very supportive of the ordinance and actually of the proposed fees. And the city of Coronado, I should have said Coronado, not Long Beach. Sorry, I'm still a little dingy. But the city of Coronado does actually charge an encroachment permit fee for all of the sidewalk cafes all along Orange Avenue. So it's not unique. But the thing that I really do have a problem with, and I actually do like your suggestion about increasing the pocket patios from 3 per block to a bigger number. Makes sense. But what I am very disturbed by is the answer that I got earlier to my question, where a pocket patio and a sidewalk cafe can be next to each other. That, not only is that problematic, and I can foresee a lot of problems not associated with the movement on those sidewalks, but it's going to create an incongruency in that business corridor. It's going to look unseemly, and I'm telling you, it's not going to work. Is that what I would suggest is that the ordinance be amended to say that there has to be uniformity on any business corridor. You can say 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks, that it's one or the other. Now, downtown in the village, the pocket patios work. They showed that they work, they have worked, they will work. But having a business have both on its encroachment, from the facade to the sidewalk to the street, having it juxtaposed next to each other is not going to work. I can tell you, I've been down this road before in my prior life as staff to a city. So if the commission wants to pursue approving this ordinance tonight, then I would respectfully ask that it make an amendment to the ordinance where there has to be a regulatory framework to ensure uniformity on the blocks of any business corridor. And that is basically, otherwise, I think that actually the ordinance was very well written, and I do agree with the fees.
Thank you, Vice Chair Torres. Commissioner Combs?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I begin, I wanted to thank Mr. Lemandry for his comments today. I also want to thank city staff. I know I grilled you today, and I appreciate your forbearance with that. If this had been sidewalk cafes only, I would be 100% in favor of it. They seem to be pretty safe, but we're putting pocket patios essentially right up against the street, and I'm kind of iffy about that. First of all, I understand there's going to be some fees to the city, and there's going to be some more tax revenue, which I can't just dismiss outright. On the other hand, parking is going to be severely limited, especially if it goes to if we take away the 3 maximum number, which we're talking about doing so we don't have winners and losers. I'm also concerned if we go past that 3, we're going to negatively affect the character of the neighborhood. And as far as safety, I understand that the city will not be sued. That's all well and good, but unfortunately, if somebody gets hurt, then I wouldn't feel right about that. Staff has, for the most part, convinced me that this would not be an issue, except that they did not convince me that that the barrier between an oncoming car and the pocket patio itself is safe. Unless you'd like to take the opportunity, would you like to? Can they take the opportunity now?
I think we need to keep it at Commissioner comments at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm kind of iffy about that. I would recommend that you do that with the conditions that you reevaluate the oncoming car possibly hitting maybe the barriers. Reevaluate those, please. Also, as far as the 3 maximum, if you would like to hear an idea, my recommendation is that it would be first come, first served based on the deemed complete date of the application itself. And if somebody is, say, 4th or 5th in line, refuse the review without charging them. That would be my recommendation. I do not think I would appreciate having a lottery system because we don't want to have questions from the public. I thank the commission, city staff, and the audience for their time.
Thank you. I'm very familiar with 3rd Avenue. Outside of days that I'm out of town, I step foot on 3rd Avenue and have for the last 20 years plus of my life. In regards to the outreach that was done, 62% do not feel that there's enough outdoor dining options. I could see that even being closer to 100. 64% indicated general support for sidewalk cafes. Also, I could see that number even higher. But a smaller number, 50%, were for the curb cafes, as they were referred to, or our pocket patios, even if it means taking over parking spots. I believe this 50% number would be significantly lower if a survey was taken of all of the businesses on 3rd Avenue. Using the historical information that we have from Google Earth, I counted that we had 7 parklets or pocket patios during the COVID era, and they were taking up about 21 parking spaces on 3rd Avenue. And that's between G and E, not all the way down to H. There's not really anything that was happening further south there. So there are 350 to 400 businesses in the 3rd Avenue Village per 3rd Avenue Village Association. Many businesses already are struggling with the lack of parking and with customers telling them that they drive by, they see no parking, and they move along without stopping. You also can't do a U-turn on 3rd Avenue. So if they're going up, they have to go all the way up, and they're going to lose the spot that's on the other side. And so we also have an aging population going on, so a lot of elderly citizens bypass 3rd Avenue because there is not easy parking. 3rd Avenue saw a renaissance 7 to 10 years ago with the craft beer boom, but that has faded with changing tastes. Many businesses are seeing lower sales than those peak years. And also, that's something that has not been mentioned. We lost hundreds of parking spaces about a decade ago when the state canceled the redevelopment districts and forced the city to sell the parking lots behind 3rd Avenue. Many of those have now been redeveloped into much-needed housing, which is great, but those additional residences aren't enough pedestrian traffic to support the businesses on 3rd Avenue on their own. As much as we want from a long-term goal for people to get out of their cars, Chula Vista will be car-dependent for the foreseeable future. The 3rd Avenue corridor needs to bring in customers from outside of the village, and people in East Chula Vista and neighboring citizens will hesitate to visit 3rd Avenue if the parking situation is untenable. The city just purchased the Vogue, which is very exciting. I look forward to the day when it opens up as a vibrant venue, but that would bring more traffic to the area. What is the occupancy of that space? 100, 200 people, something like that, I would guess. Imagine the Vogue having an event along with the quinceañera event halls on 3rd Avenue, and we have a parking nightmare. With these factors in mind, I'm struggling to support the pocket patio portion of this resolution. The sidewalk cafes are a proven concept with a low impact on all of the businesses, but the pocket patios makes me question, are we setting up a situation where we're gonna have half dozen to a few dozen businesses that win at the expense of several hundred businesses that lose? With that, I turn to the commissioners for any recommendations or further comments, and Vice Chair Torres.
Well, if I may, since this is comment, if I may ask the chair a couple questions about the parking, and I want to say that this has been your best engagement so far as the chair with all the questions and your oratory right now, is that we do have a parking structure right there, just a couple blocks away where
Fuddruckers used to be, and now it's the Marisco's place.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then right between 4th and 3rd, right behind the businesses going westerly, there's that big parking spot right there. that takes about, I don't know if staff could tell us, but it looks like about at least 75 to 100 parking spots right there, right? And so you have the parking structure, and then you have all of those. Now, going easterly of Third Avenue, yeah, you got a problem, because that's all residential, and all of it is metered. Now that you've implemented that meter ordinance that encompasses all of the downtown area, so I do see that being problematic. So, from what I'm deducing or inducing from the commissioners, they still have some real concerns about this, and I wonder if we should table this. Okay, this is not time sensitive. This can be deferred for a future meeting to have staff address some of our concerns that have been expressed thus far. Because, like I said, first come, first serve versus the lottery. Sounds like a winner to me. I mean, why not? My concern, again, is about uniformity in the issuance of those permits, that you can't have a hodgepodge approach to this. And I'm really adamant about it because, like I said, I've been down this road before, and I know what works and doesn't work. Or, as the chair said, maybe what we should do, conversely, is for the downtown East Village, just allow only sidewalk cafes. In other words, it'd be like a zoning, if you will. You know what I mean? You take a zoning approach to it, that in this corridor, you allow this. In another corridor, business corridor, you allow that, okay? That's more compatible with the business community, less impactful on parking and pedestrian traffic, okay? Take a better approach than just simply, hey, you know what? This is an ordinance that's going to be implemented citywide, and we're going to let staff take a approach on an individual basis, one at a time, as to the feasibility of it, instead of looking at it holistically, okay? That's something that should be considered as well. Commissioner Sanfilippo asked the relevant question. Well, you're prohibiting music and TVs out on the outside. I get it. Again, going back to my days in Coronado, where we did allow a restaurant right there on Orange and First to have a sidewalk cafe and to allow television monitors, not that were inside the establishment, but could project outside to the people on this who were inhabiting the sidewalk cafe. And because, for example, soccer games, baseball games, whatever, football games, they could just turn around, have a drink, have something to eat, and watch the game on the TV inside the establishment. Something that, we went through a lot of machinations to get to that compromise, but it works, okay? Nikki Rottens is who I'm thinking of. So the bottom line is that there's very viable questions that have been brought up by the commissioners, individually and collectively, and I think it would do the city council good and the business community good if maybe these questions and any other questions that the commissioners may have subsequent to tonight's deliberations, that they can forward to staff, have them review, and then come back at the next planning commission meeting and address them at that time, and then, if needed, amend the ordinance as presented tonight. Make sense?
Thank you, Vice Chair. What I would ultimately like to see is a full, more encompassing survey of the businesses, because I believe that the focus is on what I'll call a few loud minority businesses, in that they are small, but they are loud. That we saw that with the end of the COVID parklet, there was a few businesses who were very loud about it, but a lot of the other businesses were happy to see them gone. They just didn't bother to, present their case with a microphone. And so I believe that if you were to take a survey, you're going to see different information. And you have hair salons, and you have, haircut places, and you have all kinds of retail shops. Those guys are going to be negatively impacted. I mean, there's places that sell shoes and sell all kind of clothes, and I guarantee you, if you ask them, they're going to say absolutely, people will not come or will come less because they have no place to park. And yes, we do have the parking garage, but if you see the distance from the parking garage to the parklets that were on the north end of this corridor, that's a pretty decent hike. And so again, for elderly folks, that's not going to work out for them. They're not going to park and hike 3 blocks. That's just not going to work. They're going to go to Plaza Bonita Mall and hit the restaurants there, or they're going to go to, a place that has a full-blown parking lot. And so we need to dig in a little bit more versus just focusing on the few food and drink establishments that want this, because I believe that when we peel it back, we're going to see that there's half dozen to a dozen of them that are for it, and there's going to be a few hundred that are going to be against it, and they're going to feel negatively impacted. As far as like revenue for the city, based on the staff's report, it's a revenue neutral, so I don't necessarily see that as a big deal. But from what I am gathering here, this is not going to be cheap either. 3 spots based on the $2 per square foot is going to come out to a little bit over $1,000 some dollars, plus the parking revenue. We need to know what that number is. I think the businesses need to know what that number is, because, I mean, what are we talking about? A few $100s a year, a few $1,000s a year? The parking recovery fee is an important aspect to it. They're also going to have a permit fee. These parklets that were built pretty rudimentary at times are going to be extremely more expensive, exponentially more expensive to build, because they're going to have to follow building code. And so this is going to be an expensive endeavor for someone to get. And also you have to have a bond and insurance. So I think we need to dig further into this before we move forward. Commissioner Combs?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The issue before us is both the pocket patios and the sidewalk cafes. If these issues had been split, I would be very in favor of the sidewalk cafe, even though I have reservations about the pocket patio, but unfortunately they're together, so I have to address the issue as it is. So I just thought I'd bring that up. Perhaps we could consider 2 separate resolutions so that we could deal with the sidewalk cafes, get that out of the way, and let the business and let the community know. And then we can always nitpick at the pocket patios. They'll take a little bit longer. That's okay. There's too many things we have to think about. I thank you for your time.
Vice Chair Torres?
Again, if I may, great suggestion by Commissioner Combs is that, why cannot this ordinance be bifurcated and just get the sidewalk cafe dealt with first, and then the pocket patios that separately, and also the chair's question is, let's get before us the commission how much the parking fees are. The generation of the revenues, rather, in the village or in any corridor, and let's find out what that average is, so that way the businesses would know and that we would know, and then we could say, you know what, if you're going to take up 3 parking spots, this is what the business can anticipate paying up front, and that be then incorporated into the language of the ordinance. So again, the point being, what I'm trying to get at, fellow commissioners, there's a lot of open questions here. There's a lot of concern here. I think we would be remiss if we didn't work with staff as we're providing this feedback, and then have staff, do its thing, and come back to us with some recommendations and some further analysis, and then we move forward then. I mean, we've had some great suggestions tonight, and I think that staff needs to contemplate it address it, and then come back. This is not time sensitive. So I would make a motion then, if I may, to the commission that item 6.1, code update to adopt outdoor dining regulations, be tabled to the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
So I'm sorry, so the motion on the table is to table this discussion rather than to vote yea or nay, correct?
Correct, and that way allows staff to deal with all the issues that have been brought forward tonight.
So I have a motion by Vice Chair Torres and seconded by Commissioner Combs to table item 6.1. Deputy City Clerk Zepeda, could we call a vote? The item, the motion passes unanimously. Now we will move to item number 7, staff report.
Staff do not have a report this evening. We will be back on June 10th.
Thank you. Do I have any chair comments?
You're the chair.
Excuse me. I apologize. Yes. No, I appreciate staff's work on this, and we want to make sure that we get this item correct. It's a very important item, especially with the connection of 3rd Avenue and the Bayfront and the loop that's happening with the tram. And we want to make sure that we get this right, because if we don't get it right and we allow pocket patios in a certain way, it is going to be very difficult to take them away. The same thing we experienced with the COVID ones, which were very clear from day one, temporary. People felt that they shouldn't be temporary, or they forgot they were temporary and were not happy with them going away when it was clear from day one. And so if we were to move forward with it in a manner that doesn't work out well, it is going to be extremely difficult to undo this, especially with all the fees involved and the construction costs, which I would anticipate are going to be, at least 5 figures in some ways. I mean, it's not going to be, a dude with a Home Depot run and his pickup truck. I mean, it's going to be, a contractor is going to have to be involved, and it's going to be an expensive thing. And so, I look forward to hearing what staff comes back with. With that, do I have any commissioner comments?
If I may, it's just real quickly, and this is directed to the deputy director, is that the San Diego Union Tribune recently reported that the city council approved an $80 million tax-exempt multifamily housing revenue bond to finance affordable housing, housing the Otay Ranch 2 project, a 270-unit development for Village 8 East. Now, in my tenure on this commission, I don't ever recall that development ever came before the commission. Will that development now come before the commission at some future date? Because we did amend the ordinance that only housing units 200 or more would come before
Chairman?
the commission for design review.
Excuse me, but we're going a little bit off the agenda.
This is commission comments.
But this item is, I'll state that for the record. I believe it's off the agenda topics, even though it's commissioner comments.
I don't know what
I
that
believe
is
you're
about.
asking the staff a question?
Yeah, will that come before the commission?
Commissioner, thank you for the question. I can look into that for you and report back when we have information.
Okay.
I don't have the specifics of, what the process was for approval, but it could be that it is under the 200-unit threshold, so we can confirm and give that back to the commission.
Perfect. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other commissioner comments? No? With that, it is 7:05 p.m., and I'm adjourning this meeting to the next regular Planning Commission meeting on June 10th, 2026.